Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the King Ugly Crew. We are going to be talking about some crazy, ridiculous rescues tonight. On with us, we have Baron, Griff, and Lonnon tonight. So we have experienced obviously some just insane rescues because we all drive older vehicles that tend to break at the absolute worst moments.
Mine is perfect.
Oh, is that right, Griffey?
Yes, I've never been rescued.
That is false. That is a
Huh.
lie, sir. Like 2 weeks ago.
Lies.
I mean, even I've been rescued, but it was only once. So
Define rescued. Just because you had to come get me and tow me home, that does not count rescued.
I think
Excursion, sir.
that's a
Pretty
rescue.
sure that is like the definition of rescue.
So yeah, we want to start out with the rescue from hell. This is one of the absolute worst rescues we've ever experienced, and of course, it has to do with Lonnon's truck. So Lonnon, take it away.
Yeah, so it's my first gen.
Well, Lonnon's first gen, let's speak is that it's the Cummins of this one, so it's the reliable truck.
Yeah, the problem is that it's a first gen. Enough said. Now, that being said, so me and Case are working up in Eureka, Nevada, and I usually either got a ride from somebody or whatever else, but usually it's from you, but this time I had to drive my own vehicle up there, so I drove my own truck up, and was there all week. It worked fine, and then on the way home, we're just about like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes south of Alamo, and so it's out in literally a desert. I mean, it's terrible, and all of a sudden we get this noise, and my truck shuts off, and it just starts. Well, I just coast to a stop, and then I barely have service, which is saying something because out there in the majority of that area, I actually don't have any service most of the time.
Yeah, I'm going to correct that. You did not have service,
right.
by the way.
You are absolutely correct. There was a guy driving past, and he stopped, and I had to use his phone. It was probably a Verizon phone. And called Griff, and Griff probably answered, like, not knowing who it was, but luckily he answered.
Absolutely.
And told him what was going on, the truck wouldn't start. I'd done a bunch of different things to try and figure it out. Nothing worked. So we get Griffith on the phone, and Griffith can kind of take it away from there.
I'm sorry, Case, you were saying?
I was just asking Lonnon, do you remember if I was with you at this time?
No,
it was Gnocchi.
That guy. Yeah, and so I happened to pick my phone up, which I typically don't to out-of-state numbers, because it was an out-of-state number, and I was just like, I have this feeling I should just pick it up.
Well, the funny thing about this, as Griff and I were talking about, so about how long do you give it until Lonnon calls us? Because his first gen's like the most reliable truck ever in the world.
Some sarcasm.
And then within like 10 minutes of us having this conversation, Griff gets this phone call.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll head out there, and I grab my excursion and our green trailer, and as we are getting all hooked
to
up,
give time frame on this, he called us at like what, 8 o'clock at night? It was dark by the time we started hooking up to the trailer.
Yeah, I would say it's probably pretty close to that because it was in the summer. So it was maybe 9 or 10.
Yeah, it was late. Like, ultimately, it was pretty late. And so we started to head. So we get our trailer, start to head out.
Two-wheel drive excursion.
Yeah, two-wheel drive excursion. But we're heading out, and within probably 50 miles, we're on the 95, hopping on the 93, and the trailer throws a tire tread, like totally off the trailer, and we don't have a spare tire.
And we're farther out than that. Like, we were a good hour into the trip by that point in time there, because I was like, I'm not turning around. I'll just flat tow him back, is what we had decided, because we're like, well, we'll be fine. And so we continue to drive on to go get Lonnon. And this is like 10:30 at night when we're at this point in time. We get out there, and we get to Lonnon 11:30. And as we're out there, we're like, well, let's see if we can get his truck running, because we're here. We'll see if we can figure it out. Me and Baron worked on it for probably about an hour, if I remember right.
Yep. I mean, I'd done a bunch of different things testing it. Couldn't figure it out. You guys came out. We tried a whole bunch of new things. Still nothing. So at that point, we decided, you know what? Let's just flat tow it. We don't have the time to deal with it.
Right. And so hook it up and start.
So hold on. You guys were flat towing the truck behind your truck with the trailer.
Yep.
Right. So we hooked it to the green trailer and flat towed it.
Awesome. Okay. So our green trailer is 25 feet long, plus the excursion, plus flat towing a vehicle behind it. So we're talking probably 50, 60 feet of vehicles there.
Maybe 80 feet.
Really? That strap was that long?
I mean, including strap and everything else. I mean, you're with excursion and trailer, you're close to 48 feet. So
Well over a semi length here of vehicles on a 2-lane highway. Awesome.
Yes, but it was an empty highway, and it's not like we weren't cruising at, I mean, normal speeds. It was we didn't need hazard flashers. Let's go with that. So we're 25 miles into the trip back, and all of a sudden Lonnon starts flashing me because we don't have any service still. It's flashing me. I'm like, what the crap's going on? All right, so I pull over, and Lonnon comes up and he's like, dude, there's something knocking on my truck. Like, I don't know what it is. It sounds horrible. We got to look at it. And so Baron crawls under there, and I think it's Baron.
yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
And fills it, and
the nut that holds on the actual pinion, U-joint, whatever you want to call it, the yoke, yeah, it has backed off. So like the whole yoke is just like slapping around in there, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Your actual drive shaft was moving around in the tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah, making a horrific noise.
Okay.
At this point, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, or at least midnight. I mean, it's freaking late. And Griff and I both worked all that day and have to go to work the next day.
I think it was like 1:30 or 2 o'clock by this point.
Right. And so I'm like, okay. And Lonnon's like, well, let's get up off the road and we'll just pull off the side of the road and I'll just come pick it up later tomorrow after I replace the tire. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. Didn't really think about it. And I go off the berm and I go into sand. And I'm talking about, like, I go instantly to my frame.
Like, frame, axle was buried all the way up to the tubes. I mean, there was no hope.
Okay, Lonnon, I see why you brought up the 2-wheel drive excursion now.
Yeah, because, to be honest with you, for as bad as he sunk, I'm not 100%. A 4-wheel drive without some sort of really low pressure, really wide, high flotation tire could have gotten out for as bad as he sunk.
Typical Nevada soft shoulders, tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad. Ultimately, so me and Baron spend the next, and Lonnon and this other guy, which I don't remember.
Noki didn't do anything, I don't think. I think he just sat in the truck.
I think he slept.
Okay, spent the next 3 hours trying to get my excursion out, and when I say trying, I mean I think in 3 hours we had accomplished about
a foot.
You think a foot? I mean, I don't know if we made it that far.
I think we made about 5 feet.
It might have actually been 5 feet. I think he's probably right. It was about 5 feet. And then
So did you guys disconnect the green trailer?
Yes, we did. Eventually we disconnected and we still couldn't get out.
Yeah, we tried. I mean, ultimately, we got to the point where we're like, there's no way we're getting out. And I didn't have cell service, and it was Saturday, and so I had to get to work. And Baron was kind of the same way. Like, it was a Saturday, no one was coming in, and so I'm like figuring out trying to get to work because, I mean, last thing I wanted was a no-call, no-show, especially on a day when no one would have been there.
Luckily, some dude in a truck pulls up.
Thank goodness. I walk out in the middle of the road and wave the guy down, like force him to stop, because he was the only guy that had passed in hours.
Yeah. It was probably 2 hours since. Well, I think there was a couple cars that passed, but they wouldn't have done anything. He was the first truck that came past,
and conveniently had a chain in his truck, which just happened to be
a long enough chain to boot.
Yeah, which would have never been the case. And this dude hooked to my excursion and 4-wheel drive, and we just went at it, and the dude pulled us out. Well, this is 4:30 in the morning when this happens, and we're still an hour and a half away from Vegas. And I have to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Baron was supposed to be at work at 7.
Yeah, so we ended up getting on the road and heading back onto the 90. Well, we were on the 93, heading back to the 95, and I actually passed the place I was supposed to be working. I was working on the 93 at that time. So we drove all the way back into Vegas, and then I had to drive all the way back out, and I was 2.5 hours late.
Yeah, and I made it to work just on time, but at least Barrett and Lonnon got some sleep. I drove the entire time. Like, I drove all the way there, I drove all the way back, and so I got to go to work. Let's just say that it was not a very productive day at work.
Dog tired. I remember sleeping on Griffey's bed. It was rather comfortable.
I slept in the back seat, and then I slept on the front of a drill while the guy was drilling.
And then Lonnon and Case kind of take over the story from this point forward, because then it turns into Rescue Uruno number 02.
Yeah, like we said, this is definitely the rescue from hell, because it's usually we can get our rescues done, within a couple of hours. This one is like a 48-hour thing. It's not fun.
Yeah, so I remember getting up, and I remember we got to go get a tire. And so we go to the discount tire, and the first one we go to doesn't have a tire, and they want us to pay for it. And it's a discount tire. It's a tire from discount that had a
Warranty on it.
a road hazard warranty on it, but they didn't want to replace it, and they didn't have one anyway. So they're like, well, the Blue Diamond store has one. So we go over there, and this is like, by the time we get going, it was probably 11 a.m. I'm assuming. I think that's about what it was.
Yeah, it was pretty late in the day. Griffey had but I had a full night to sleep because I wasn't involved in the whole rescue night before.
So we get to the discount tire on Blue Diamond. It takes them at least an hour to get this tire replaced. We get it all fixed, pay the road hazard fee, and off we go. We're heading back up to the Alamo area. And then I don't remember how uneventful, or if it was eventful, to be honest with you. I remember getting it up onto the trailer was not easy because it wouldn't start, and we didn't have a winch on the trailer at that time. If I remember correctly, weren't we ratchet strapping that sucker up there?
So you would ratchet one side, get to the point where the ratchet would get clogged up because they had too much strap in it, and then I'd take over on my side. Dude, it took forever to get this thing up on that trailer.
It was probably a solid 2.5 hours to get onto the trailer. And this being Alamo in the middle of summer, so this is probably July or August. I don't remember exactly which month, but I mean, well over 100 degrees. So me and Case are just
Dead.
dying, especially because we've been working up in Eureka, which was, a high of like 90, if that. I mean, it was gorgeous up there. And so eventually we get the sucker up there. I think actually one of the times, didn't the ramp pop out on the front tire when we were coming up the first time?
No.
Gosh,
there were so many things that went wrong. The biggest issue I remember is getting it up over the lip of the trailer, because our ramps aren't flush with the trailer. There's like a good...
Yeah, almost 2 inch
lip. 2 inch lip, and getting that over, I had to go push while you were ratcheting, and that was the only way we got it to actually go up.
Right, and barely at that. I mean, like, this was, if I didn't get tendonitis from that in my elbows, tennis elbow, actually, I think that's probably around the time that I started getting tennis elbow. I'm going to be honest with you.
That's weird how that works out.
Well, and I've actually found that when I was working here at Power Driven, I had tennis elbow for a good solid, 6 months, and just killing both my arms. And I stopped strapping trucks down to the dyno and let other guys do it. And gradually it went away. I was just putting way too much strain on those straps, trying to get them good and tight, like you should. But yeah, killed my arms. So I think that was pretty much it. We get it back to Griffith's house, and it sits there for a long time.
To your house, I thought.
Did it? Well,
yeah.
Well, it may have eventually got out to my house. That's correct.
It sat in Henderson for a long time, and then Barron or me or both of us or...
Oh, so had I moved to Henderson by then?
Pretty confident you had.
I think you had.
Yes, because when we worked in Eureka, you were in Henderson.
Not the whole time. Only the last portion. So we must have moved by then. So if that's the case, then yeah, it did sit there forever. And Barron somehow acquired a pump for me. I think it was from Diesel Specialist, wasn't it?
I think so, because that pump that was on your truck that failed, I had rebuilt that one for you.
Right.
And so somehow I came across another one.
So it was your main fuel pump that went bad?
Yeah, the actual injection pump. Yeah, it just stopped working. Like, we thought maybe it was the valve, because they have these solenoids on them that make them so they shut off, and it wasn't that. And Then I had to find a new nut to put on the back for the transmission. That I think I still had the old transmission, so I was able to steal it off of that, and I did. It's still that way now.
Yeah, it's awesome. By the way, that truck is for sale here in Cedar City if you're interested.
Sure is.
Please buy it. Just
No.
we don't ever want to hear anything about it.
Yeah, please do not buy it. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know us personally. Don't buy that truck. Like, it's not that it's a bad truck. It's just that, yeah, I don't want to hear it. And there was, I mean, like, another rescue that I totally forgot about was when Griffith rescued me because the whole dadgum bearing came apart and I saw my tire pass me up. And all of a sudden, I'm riding on a control arm running down the freaking 160.
Are you kidding me?
I don't remember this.
Yeah, me neither.
You weren't there. I left your house and I was heading home and all of a sudden I'm like driving. I just got up and over the hump.
That's the
and
front hump.
I was coming down. Yep. So then it goes to 4 lanes. Once it goes to 4 lanes, well, like all of a sudden I'm still going down the hill, right? And all of a sudden, thunk, the whole front end of the truck drops to the right and I lose the whole, like, my tire and the caliper and all that stuff kind of just kind of rolled away from the truck. I had to get it.
Wow, that's
And
a
then
movie
That was another call called the Griffith, and luckily, so no, it must not have done the caliper, but it did something to the point where, because like I still had brakes, like there was still full brake pressure, so something happened. All I know is I was riding down on top of the ground with it. So like I don't know if it just got completely loose, but the brake line was still holding on. Either way, I was able to get stopped, and because I was doing like 80, and so I got stopped. Called Griff. He comes and picks me up. It was another one of those scenarios where we had to like ratchet it onto there. We get it onto the truck and get it out to my house for the longest time, and then it goes to Griff's house. And I ordered this part like 3 different times. You remember that, Griff? I ordered the part and it came, and you're like, "Oh, it's the wrong size." All right, I'll order another one. So I did. The 3rd time was correct, and I came out, and I was there for a Saturday to get the thing done, and lo and behold, Griffith being Griffith had already done it.
We've had that happen a lot with Griffey. So thank you, Griffey, for just stepping up and being an awesome guy.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Like my Subaru motor, I was at work all day, came home, and Griffey had installed my entire motor in my Outback.
Best.
My favorite was when I went over to Griff's apartment when he was living with a coworker of his, and I went over there at 9 a.m. to go help install his engine in his Prelude, and he had woken up at 6 a.m., put the entire thing in, and had it running, then went back inside, put his pajamas back in, and came and answered the door when I knocked on the door and was like, "Are you ready to finally do this thing?" And then was running when we went out.
Griffith Jetson.
Oh, you're kidding me. I didn't hear about that.
I didn't want Nick to help.
Wow.
So I was really trying to get it so Nick wouldn't help me, and so I just did it myself. And I did it because I wanted to mess with Barrett a little bit, and I did, similar like I did Case too, because I did that exact same thing Case.
Sure did.
And I don't remember putting pajamas on, but I very well could have.
You weren't in work clothes, but yeah. And then there was a time that you and I had pulled the engine out of the 300ZX twin turbo and surprised Jordan before he got there.
Yeah.
See, we just like to surprise people. It's fun. But yeah, that was the rescue from hell. That was
straight out of Compton. I mean, hell.
That was our
It was
worst one.
terrible. It was so bad.
I mean,
Definitely our worst
I
one.
think Barron's got a pretty good one with the his 6.5 liter diesel Suburban he had. He was coming back from California for my wedding, actually, back in 2012. And man, Aaron, go ahead and describe that. What happened to that one?
Alrighty, so I am coming back for Case's wedding. I have driven from Willits, California, all the way down to the Hatchery Pass, and I am.
Wait, so tell us where Willits is
So
at.
Willits is about 200 miles north of San Francisco. So it's about 100 miles west of Redding, and it's about 50 miles east of Fort Bragg. So it's up in the redwoods, super pretty. I mean, it's full of marijuana farmers. It's actually who I was mostly working for while I was up there, was digging ponds for marijuana farmers. But I ended up buying this 6.5 Chevy Suburban for $500, and I ended up just needing a PMD.
Which is
So it's a pump-mounted driver. It's just this stupid set of.
It's a controller.
Yeah.
If you will.
Dumb.
It's just dumb. So I ended up given this S10. It's a 93 S10 with a small block Chevy in it. The guy just wanted to get rid of it. Full title, thing ran. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this to Griff for totally pulling the injection pump out of his IDI, his 7.3 IDI F350. And he made it inoperable while I was on my mission. So I was like, oh, I'll give this to him. Hopefully that makes it up. So I'm on my way down. And just getting out of Tehachapi, and it's actually the Tehachapi Pass, and I'm climbing this hill. It's like a 6% grade, and it's a 6.5 Chevy. I mean, I'm not winning any records here. I think I'm doing like 45, 35 miles an hour. All this thing has to give. And then just all of a sudden, it's just like every movie you've seen, just white smoke come out from under the hood and steam going everywhere. You can't see. There's this fog, and I have cars passing me on the left-hand lane. I just can't like do anything, and there's no real shoulder to pull off on, and so I pull off as far off on the road as I can, but I'm still halfway in this lane. So I have cars passing me doing 65, 70 miles an hour, honking their horns, like being super angry with me, and I just have steam boiling out from under my hood. I mean, it is just a sight to behold. And it finally gets cooled down enough, and I can open the hood, and I see that the neck had broken off of the upper radiator hose on the radiator. And so I'm stuck.
Why does that always breaks at the absolute worst times? Is it just a weak point on radiators?
Well, of course it does. Yeah, it's where the most heat comes in.
Okay, I guess that makes sense then.
Yeah, and it's also the most heat cycles. Like, it sees the most.
It's concentrated heat.
Yeah, it'll go from the coolest to the hottest very rapidly. So at this point, I'm stuck halfway in a lane. And I call up Griff, and I'm like, Griff, I need a radiator. I mean, this is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so he's calling around to all these shops in Vegas and eventually gets me a radiator. But he's still at work, and he can't leave until he's done with work. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for Griff and Lonnon, I'll let them tell their story here in a second with this. But I have this guy in a Dodge Cummins 24 valve pulls in front of me and is all like, hey, can I get you out of the middle of the road? And I was like, yes, you can. So we ended up hooking onto my truck and trailer. He pulls me up to a wide spot in the road, and come to find out he's actually an LDS guy, and he's heading to Vegas for something or another. To me, he was an angel in disguise. I mean, I don't remember his name. I don't remember any of this, but he showed up at the perfect time and had everything we needed, and he was willing to tow me wherever we needed to go, but he truly helped me out. But I'll turn it over to Griff and Lonnon to tell their part of the story.
Real man would have just continued to drive it until it was dead.
Send it.
Full
That's
send.
what a real man would have done.
Because any of you guys have ever done anything like
Colby's truck, just recently.
that. It wasn't your truck.
Actually, I did that too when my line came off on my F357.3, right after me and Dad bought it, the white one. And we were dumping Dr. Pepper in there. We peed in it. We had to do a whole bunch of things just to get enough water to get to the next town.
That is just nuts.
I just ran it until it got hot, would shut it off, let it cool down for a little bit, and then I continued that game for 40 minutes. It was great.
But were you hauling like 7,000 pounds behind you up a 6% grade? I mean, it wasn't like you guys were doing as much as what the truck could do, and I was already maxing it out.
Is Tehachapi Pass only 6%? I think it's more than that.
It might be more than that. I don't remember what it is.
It is a big grade.
I'll have to look.
If you want to get technical, calling more weight, and I did a very similar pass, but it wasn't my truck. Who cares if Colby's truck broke?
That's kind of what I figured. This was my truck.
And that's not true. I really was trying not to, but it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't going to call anyone to come save me, and so I pushed it. But I'm sorry. So you kind of explained from what Baron was. I ended up finding a radiator, went over, picked it up. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and I have to work the next day, of course. And as you'll find is that most of these stories involve me somehow picking up someone, because that just seems to be the case.
Well, we always try and make sure there's two of us at least, so that one can drive, one can, not. It makes it's smarter because, if one gets tired, the other one can continue on.
Which Griffey never gets tired, so he ends up driving the entire time. Always.
Not always. I think about the only person that he doesn't do that with is me. About everybody else, he would.
That particular drive, I went to sleep because I had to work in the morning. So I'm driving to pick up the radiator. I call Lonnon and I'm like, hey, how do you get to Tehachapi Pass? Because I'll be honest, I am horrible with the navigation. Like, Google is my best friend because that's how I drive anywhere. And so Lonnon's like, well, just come pick me up in Pahrump. Like, it only adds 10 minutes to the whole trip, and you can just pick me up and we'll head out there. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that will add another person to the car. I ain't gonna complain. And so we start this trip. Well, this is 7. I picked Lonnon up at like 6 or 7 because that's when I was getting off work early. And so I go pick up Lonnon, and it's 8 hours from Lonnon's house to where Baron's at. 8 hours. And I have to work in the morning, and so does Lonnon. So we go. I mean, really, the drive there was uneventful. It was just the drive to
Busted it out like it was the first time I'd driven your 740, I believe.
Yeah, and that was my real big first long trip I've ever taken in my 740. And so BMW, I had a 7 Series. We get out there, install the radiator. I mean, we got there like 1 o'clock in the morning, install the radiator, and we kind of make our thing back to book back because I had to be at work at 7 in the morning. And
Right. Well, but like, so we actually helped Baron get that sucker in. Now, I believe, Baron, didn't you already have it out by the time we got there?
Well, I wasn't just going to sit around and wait for you guys.
yes,
Yeah, so that's what I thought. I thought it was out. So we just had to get it in, refilled with water, all the lines hooked back up. I mean, it's still, I mean, by the time we got there, it was 1. I think by the time we left, it was 1:30, probably 2 o'clock. Probably 2:30.
But we didn't have quite enough water to top it off, and I'm still having to climb this grade. So we had to like limp it up the hill and then coast it down the hill and then limp it up the next hill and then coast it down the next hill until we could get to the next gas station. And then we were able to finally top it off. And then it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. I didn't really have any issues.
No, I think it was just getting there. I mean, like, but we were easily a good 6 hours from home at that point by the time we finally got everything ready to go. And Griff had to be working 8. And so I was going a little faster than the speed limit, but I got Griff there as quick as I could.
BMW, that is truly where, I mean, I will be honest, and me and Lonnon always say that 740 put down miles like you have never been in a car. I mean, most cars.
It was just so comfortable to do it in.
The minus my windshield that leaked, and so it buffered when you drove down the road. It went blah, 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 blah. That was the only bad part. Besides that, like,
yeah, just a bad install job.
You drove that car 16 hours in that car. I drove it. We got out. Didn't feel like you'd been in a car for 16 hours.
No, first car that I've ever done that in, and to be honest with you, like the M5 didn't even feel that good to me.
That 7 Series is made for luxury, especially that year. It was like what, 2002, Griffey?
98.
Oh, same body style though, right?
Yeah.
And I said to Griffey the same thing this last week. I took my Beamer for a road trip, and I'm like, this is the most comfortable car I've experienced being in. It's just something I can jump in and drive.
Absolutely, I was. When I drove Case's car back from California, I drove it from, I think about half an hour outside of wherever we picked it up, and then I drove it the whole way back, and it was just super comfy.
You haven't driven my Flex yet, Lonnon. Just be prepared.
Your Flex? Is that good? Because like I drove it on that little bit, but I mean...
My Flex puts miles down, kind of like the 740.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful car to be in. So that's awesome, guys. I mean, I'm glad you guys made it back for my wedding. Thanks for being there, Baroni.
No problem.
I think we're moving on to the last one, which I was not involved with. So I'll moderate here for a little second here. I believe it was Baron, Case, and Griffith all involved in this one.
No Case.
No Case.
Yep, just me and Griff.
Got you. Well, I think you were probably still in high school, probably, right?
Nope. I got left out like normal.
So, well, then no Case. So it'd be me and Case just listening to Baron and Griff. So I can hand it back over. I guess he is the moderator.
It's all good. Go ahead, Lonnon.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, like Griffith and Baron, they're... I guess they got a call from some friends of ours, the Varillas, and I don't know exactly what happened, but we'll just let them tell their story, and we'll see where we're at.
All right, so I don't exactly know what happened to the Varillas. They had a Chevy Suburban. It lost a motor. Now, I don't remember. It was long enough ago that I don't remember exactly all the details of why we were headed out there. But they were like, "Oh, we're just going to trade it in." And I'm like, "You guys just got done putting a bunch of money into this car. Like, I'll just come pick it up." And they were in Corona, California. And so me and Baron on a Saturday morning, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was Saturday morning.
Road trip.
I'm just gonna throw this out real quick. That'd be a terrible town to live in right now. Corona, California. With this whole thing going on. It's just terrible.
So we head out to Corona. I mean, really nothing uneventful happened that time. We happened to get there.
Well, so we can bring it up. We're in Griff's 94 73 IDI drive, crew cab, long bed, 5-speed truck. I mean, and this truck, to give a little backstory on it, this truck we paid $400 for, had 170,000 miles on it, and is probably to this day the most reliable vehicle we've ever owned.
Absolutely.
Short of the lift pump.
And once Barron fixed that, it never had an issue. It was a very good truck. It was not very fast. It was one that, well, let's go with this. I sold it with 270, and Barron probably put 80 of that on there.
I did. I liked that truck a lot.
Barron put a ton of mileage down on my IDI. And so we got out there, loaded up the Verillas thing. They spent a little bit more time, and we left at, let's say, 7 o'clock at night, Bear.
I think it was 7 o'clock because we were on the road and the sun was just setting because it was August, I believe, right before I got arrested.
It was probably really gorgeous.
And here we go with the tire again. So we're on the 215 where the 15, I don't know, the spaghetti bowl of where we were at and the scariest place you could blow a tire, and we blew a tire.
Not lost a tread, but literally blew a tire.
Blew a tire. Like, it exploded. And so I pull off to the side of the road as best as possible, and I'm talking about, it's a 20, what would you say, Baron, 10, 15, 20-foot drop on the other side of this thing. And
yeah, it's a typical California highway. I mean, we're on the highways are all raised, and we're sitting next to all of these dealerships, and so we've got like this 1 foot area to work before you have this sheer drop off just about.
And of course the tire's on the side of all the traffic, and it's busy, and it's this overpass, so people are trying to figure out where they're supposed to be going. Scary. Let's go with that. That was probably the scariest I'd been with pulling a tire. So we pull a tire, and that starts, pull a tire, unhook the truck from the trailer because we don't have a way of getting any other way else, unhook it, and go to the nearest Walmart.
Why didn't you guys try and strap up the whole rim and everything and just drive it?
Because it was too much weight. The Suburban weighed too much.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, so you blew it after you loaded up?
Yeah, we blew it like we were 45 minutes out already, and we blew it then. And so we go to the nearest Walmart.
It's like, what, 8 o'clock at this time? So every place
10.
was closed except for Walmart. Oh, it was 10?
Yeah, it was like 10, 11. And so we go to Walmart, buy a tire, just the tire, because the automotive section is closed. We go to, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 gas stations trying to find a gas station that's willing to go and do that, go and, put a tire on, and no one will do it. Like, they're like, nope, we only do big trucks. Nope, we only do big trucks. And so we mounted a tire on the side of the road, and I'm talking about like side of the road with the tools we had, which
we used the jack on the trailer.
Yeah, the jack on the trailer to pop the bead, and then we used something, and I don't even remember how we filled it up with air. I think we brought a compressor or something.
No, you guys left after you got it mounted, brought it to Walmart or somewhere.
Oh,
and
so
they filled it up.
Okay, yeah, and we brought it to a shop to do it because they wouldn't mount it. Same shop that we went to, they wouldn't mount it. And so that starts us off, and this is midnight, and then we're headed on our way again. Short of that, nothing else exciting happened to the story. It was pretty calm.
Oh, I thought it was the second tire went too.
No, it was one tire. It was the typical problem we've had with each other from the beginning, which is it had the fender rubbed a hole in it again.
Aha, yes.
And if you've noticed, if you guys are now around us, there's a thing that we always have with our trailers now, because we've had 2 horrible experiences with tires not being available, is a spare tire.
There's always a spare tire on that green trailer now.
There's also no side on the fender wells.
Yeah, because we had so many problems with the side of the fender wells too.
Well, that's also because that trailer has seen better days.
Yeah, but
it was, I don't know when it was built, but I know I rebuilt it in 2001. And from there, I don't know. So it's got at least 19 years on it, 20 years.
Hard years.
Yeah, and I don't know about what had happened, how long it was before that.
Right. And so that was our other rescue, and that one was bad just because of where we broke and where we popped a tire. Besides that, I mean, it was pretty smooth sailing. I mean, I guess the worst we've always been Lonnon's truck. Really just takes the cake.
Not trucks, just the one singular truck.
Well, we could talk about me blowing up my Mercedes on my first date with my wife.
What? I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah.
So we went to go see the Blink-182 concert. I ended up staying at one of the hotels, I think it was in Mandalay Bay, that night after, and just hung out with some friends and got a room. And we were headed out the next morning. Well, the speed bumps into the hotel, I was used to
Going
taking
too fast.
I was going way too fast because I'm just used to Mercedes just absorbing bumps. But this was a speed hump and not a speed bump. And so by the time I exited the bump, my entire oil pan was cracked.
Aluminum oil pan.
An aluminum oil pan. This is my Mercedes 300 SDL. And so I was showing off. I'm like, cool, check out how well my suspension takes this bump. And so I don't even know it cracked. And so we go to bed for the night. We all just crash. And then the next morning, I jump in the car, get it started, and it sounds a little funny. And Ashley pointed out that there was still kitty litter right in front of my car. I'm like, must be somebody else's car. Obviously not. So it leaked out. I don't know how many quarts are in those 300 SDLs. So a lot of oil all over the ground. And so I jump in it, we get it started, and I make it to the Flamingo overpass, and the entire thing just blows up. And then Griffith had to come rescue me on that one. So that's how I actually met Griff and Lonnon's family for the first time, was because of that. Because you were at Griffith's house, Lonnon, at that point.
I don't remember you blowing it up. I remember fixing that oil pan and putting it back together and driving it.
No, that was a different motor.
What family did you meet? What do you mean?
It was you, or gosh, who was there? I don't even remember, but I just remember that was the first. That's how Ashley met you.
All right.
It wasn't exciting, but hey, that's what happens when you act like a stupid teenager.
Yep.
So, Baron, you were correct. The that pass that is technically the Grapevine Pass, and it is 6% grade.
It's an epic hill, I'd say, especially in a 6.5 Chevy.
But it is 5 miles long of 6% grade.
Down, and then it climbs again.
Yep, you go up and down quite a few times.
Percentage are just numbers. You should have just pushed
Yeah,
it.
it's just like the Rip'ems.
Coolant temps are just numbers.
Do it for Dale.
For anyone that doesn't know what RIPMs are, it's RPMs.
Ribbums.
So
Same
RIPMs, huh?
That would be a Josh from YouTubeism.
thing. The Josh from YouTube?
Oh, right. I forgot about the Josh from YouTube. For those of you that know, he's one of our salesmen that works here at Power Driven Diesel with us, and he is the Josh from YouTube. And he's got lots of cool sayings like that. Horse torques, whistle pounds. Yeah, they're all fun.
All right, Case, wrap this thing up.
So yeah, we have some pretty awesome stories. And just to wrap it up, our last rescue actually happened here in Cedar City before we all lived here. We were driving Griffey's IDI, and Baron, weren't you driving at this point?
Baron was driving.
No.
Yeah, well,
I
it
was.
was me. Maybe it was me. But do you remember why we did this drive? I don't remember what we were going up for.
The enclosed trailer. We were going to drop Tally off at her house, and then we were heading up to Idaho.
Yeah, I know we went to Idaho, but I just don't remember why. But either way.
I just remember it was all of us plus Kyler. It was Kyler, Talia. I mean, all the seats were full in this truck.
Yeah, it was all 6 of us. I mean, we were right on top of each other. But anyway, so we pull into Cedar City, and it's probably 2 in the morning. I'm thinking it's about what it was. We all like to leave most of the time, drive late, so we leave late. And I'm driving, and we stop to get fuel, and then we get fuel, and the truck doesn't want to start.
I remember, Lonnon, this is the one that we were climbing Black Ridge, and there
It
was
was all on fire.
Yes, with that fire of that truck, the car hauler that caught on fire.
Yeah, and the semi literally had burned out of the ground. Like, the only thing that was left was a frame and a block.
We'd sat there for like 4 hours.
Oh, that's why it was so late. So, yeah, I think we didn't get into town until probably, because, yeah, it was probably close to, by the time we got into Cedar City, it was probably closer to 4 or 5. And so we get fuel, and we go to start the truck back up, and nothing. It won't start. Nothing.
And this is winter time, if I remember correctly, right?
It was cold. It was spring, I think. It was spring.
Okay. I just remember further in this trip, me and Kyler have a stupid bet that we could hold our arms out in the longest during a hellstorm. He won that one for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely not as smart. Anyway, but so yeah, it just won't start. I was like, well, we could call Todd, and maybe Todd can come help us out. He's got a truck. He could tow us, and then we can find one of the parts stores and get a pump. And if I remember correctly, we were actually at that Sun gas station off of the Enoch exit that's no longer there.
We were at Love's.
You think so?
We were definitely at Love's.
Well, so if that's the case, then Todd was living in Enoch at this time, not in Cedar like he is now. And what we didn't know is that his truck was being built for a race truck again, and so the motor wasn't any good, so he had to get a hold of the Smith brothers and see if he could borrow a truck from them so that he could come give us a tow. And he tells us he finally gets there, and it's light by the time Todd gets there. I mean, it's 7 a.m. ish, and so he tows us back to his house, and we're waiting for the parts store to open, and so he decides he's going to make us breakfast. And this is on a Sunday morning. I do remember that because he ended up going to church afterwards. But Case, there was something about the waffles, wasn't there?
I don't know if I remember correctly, but Kyler still to this day calls me a 2 waffler because for some odd reason I was not hungry that morning and I could only put down 2 waffles where everyone else had like 4 or 5 waffles because they were phenomenal. Thank you, Todd. And so
Todd does know how to make an incredible waffle. There's no doubt about that.
And so I am officially known to Kyler as the 2 waffler.
Yeah, I think we kind of all refer to it every now and then. I don't even think Todd remembers, to be honest with you. I mean, like, I brought it out and he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. But like, not really.
But yeah, it's still a thing. I mean, just recently when Kyler came and visited me, he called me a 2 waffler. It was great.
That's hilarious.
That's so great. Yeah, because at this time, I think I actually missed the 2 waffler conversation because I was out pulling the lift pump out of the IDI.
Right, and was it electric at this point, or was it mechanical at this point?
It's always been mechanical. So the lift pump did die on it, but we were also fighting this fuel suction tube problem of somebody had put veggie oil in one of the tanks, and so it would cause that tube to constantly plug up because it would get this residual veggie oil.
Gross.
And so we were constantly fighting that.
Yeah, so it was just a fight that Baron finally had figured it out, but
yeah, he finally replaced all the parts, didn't he?
He replaced
I replaced the fuel sock, we replaced the switcher valve, we replaced the lift pump, we replaced everything in that fuel system. Griffith ended up replacing the injection pump, but it wasn't bad.
Well, but that was for alternative reasons of someone never checked the oil and it was, like 10 quarts overfilled.
And so it ran away, and so I was like, well, the only way it could run away is if it was running away on fuel, not being the case.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the last save. I mean, it wasn't like anything spectacular, but it was kind of fun, and it was funny because Case is a 2 waffler. And
what I just love is that we have all these awesome memories. It sucks breaking down because I've been there too on my BMW, and it just at the times it sucks to get rescued. But I feel like we've always been able to rely on each other, which has been awesome. I mean, I know that if I break something, my brothers come over and help me, and I don't have to call for a tow truck because tow trucks are freaking expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the nice thing is that even our wives, they know they could call any brother at any time, and they would figure out how to come get them out.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's my wife was in that situation. And Griff and Baron went over and saved her while I was working out of town. So it's just been awesome. And Lonnon, I mean, when my wife's trying to fill up the diesel in my Beamer, you went over and helped her figure it out because she'd never done it before. And
yep,
it's nice having family around or people you can rely on. And it's always nice to have a really big trailer. And some good trucks. So this has been an awesome, just good to remember or good reminder of the good memories we have of being rescued, and man, they are ridiculous. So thank you all for coming in and staying tuned with us, and this has been a fun episode. If you guys have any suggestions for episodes, please let us know. Either email us at kinguglycrew@gmail.com or reach out to us at kinguglycrew, and that's at Instagram or Facebook. And until then, everyone, stay
Stay
ugly.
ugly.